The Chicago Street Race has its haters, has its doubters. There are things that are certainly wrong with it. Probably not sustainable in the long run. Ultimately, all things considered, which is why NASCAR is considering multiple different stops. That being said, though, it's been good for the sport. It's good not only for the recognition and to get the brand out there in different areas and different spots, but it proves that anywhere there's a place that has a road, you can drive a car through it. And anywhere you can drive a car through, you can race through. May not always be convenient, may not always be comfy, but it's given me that feel where you're like, what's a stock car doing in the middle of Chicago? And it's made me happy. So at least for a couple years we've got it. We get it for one more this third year in particular, the Grant Park 165 there in the Windy City, and it's going to be a fantastic time. The entry list has been released for this. We'll go ahead and put it up on the screen so you can check it out yourself. You've probably already perused through it. One thing to note with this entry list is there's 41 cars immediately from the get-go. That is something that we're going to focus on. Why is this important, you may ask? Well, because only 40 slots are guaranteed. First and foremost, which we witness typically around the Daytona 500. That's normally when we get 42 to 45 entries, and there's going to be some cars that are sent home in the duels after qualifying when it's all said and done. Not necessarily the case anywhere else. In fact, according to Seth Eggert, this is going to be the first time since Texas in 2018 since a car has failed to qualify, has had to go home, get back on the hauler, and get out of there because they didn't make the race on speed. Typically, this is a Daytona type issue only, and to see this happen here at Chicago, it's a lot of fun. There's going to be multiple open cars here. I counted up 5 of them specifically. Many of these guys you're going to be familiar with. As far as the open cars go, they've driven in Cup before. They've had starts this year, starts in years past, specifically Josh Bilicki in that number 66 car. That is a part of Garage 66. We've seen them make multiple entries this year, formerly MBM. There's someone we're very familiar with. Bilicki's going to be entering this thing as an open car. Catherine Legge for Live Fast. She's going to be racing for BJ McLeod's team. She's had a couple starts this season alone as well. You also have Corey Heim in the 67 Robin Hood Toyota. We saw Heim a couple weeks ago for 2311 making another start now in the Windy City. A very young up-and-coming Toyota driver who has a bright future ahead of him. And then you have Austin Hill in that Richard Childress Racing number 33. He will also be making his, I don't know if this is his first Cup start of the year, second. We've seen the 33 car already, but it may have been Love in it. I'd have to double check my sources on that, but we'll get to see Austin Hill in the 33. And then lastly, Colleague is entering a third car. Typically, they have the 10 and the 16. They're entering the number 13. This is going to be for Will Brown. Will Brown is your reigning Supercars champion, and for a lot of people, they may think this is his first start in a Cup car or in a NASCAR race period. It's not. He got to turn the wheel there at Sonoma last year, drove the number 33 that Austin Hill's driving this weekend for Richard Childress Racing at Sonoma. I believe he ended up taking 31st after qualifying right there in the early 20s. It was about 3 laps down in that race particularly. So looking to buck that trend in his second ever Cup start with Colleague if he can make the race. That's if any of these guys can make the race. That's what it comes down to. Someone is not getting in point blank. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no provisionals. There's nothing to save anybody to make the field 41 cars. Someone's going home. It's good old-fashioned NASCAR at its finest. Like it used to be, we need to actually show up and watch on television the whole qualifying and who wasn't going to make it in. You know, some pretty popular cars with popular sponsors at one point in time would fail to qualify, especially during the early days of like Michael Waltrip Racing, for example. The 44, the 55, any of those cars could go home at any given moment. So that's the type of stuff you live for when we watch qualifying this Saturday, is understanding that somebody is not going to make the Grant Park 165. Let's look at the top 10 from last year real quick. Performing in this race, obviously layout, everything's going to feel very familiar, this being the third time around. The new vibe and the unfamiliarity with the terrain has probably wore off a little bit. Now a track like this, it's not where you necessarily find the groove and fill the track like you do at Darlington or Dover or, you know, some of these raceways that we've been on for a very long time, but yet you are a little more familiar with it than you have been. Not not a lot of brand new guys making their first ever start on this track alone. There's a handful, but not a ton. Your top 10 from last year, Alex Bowman was the winner. Tyler Reddick finished second. Ty Gibbs finished third. Back-to-back Toyotas there. Joey Hand finished fourth in a Roush Fenway Keselowski machine. It was the number 60 at the time, back when they used that for stage 60, prior to the introduction to, obviously, Ryan Preece becoming that third member of RFK. So Joey Hand got fourth. Michael McDowell took fifth last year in the 34 for Front Row Motorsports. Obviously now in the number 71 Chevy for Spire. Ricky Stenhouse, sixth place last year. Looking to do that again after coming off a great finish at Atlanta a week ago, which I think was sixth. Todd Gilliland finished seventh last year. He was then in the 38 car, now in the 34. Same equipment with Front Row. William Byron finished eighth. Kyle Busch finished ninth. He would love a top 10, I promise you that. And Ryan Blaney finished 10th in last year's results. So you're going to notice a couple of omissions. If you look at the results from last year, Joey Hand, who I just mentioned, is one of them. You won't be seeing him here. RFK, they're already at 3 cars. Probably wasn't an extra ride to give if Hand had any interest. And then, of course, Daniel Hemrick, who actually finished 12th in last year's race when he was driving the number 31 Kaulig Racing Chevrolet. His ride was taken over by Ty Dillon and then transferred over to the number 10 that you see today. So Hemrick got 12th last year. He won't be in this race either. Those are your 2 big omissions, if any, here. You want some big names to watch. I'll give you some big names to watch. First and foremost, let's start with Daniel Suarez. Just lost his ride, mutually parting ways with Trackhouse Racing. It's unfortunate. You hate to see it. Daniel Suarez is a good dude. He's worked hard to get to where he's at. He's the type of guy that you can't help but cheer for. Very few out there probably have any type of severe dislike for Daniel Suarez. You can let me know if I'm wrong. Just tell me if I'm wrong. But I would imagine very few have that dislike for Daniel Suarez. For Daniel, he is going to be taking his talents elsewhere, whether that be the Xfinity Series, Kaulig in a Cup car, Junior Motorsports in an Xfinity car. I don't know. Can't play future predictor right now. I'm not sure. Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports has stated that Connor Zilisch is most likely to step into that ride for Trackhouse Racing, which is what everyone's been predicting from Twitter to Reddit to your friend next door. They've all been saying the same thing for a while now, and it looks like it could come to fruition. Not sure, but it seems likely at this point. So for Suarez, he's someone to watch. The number 99, what does a man with nothing to lose look like behind the wheel, right? Especially someone like Daniel Suarez, who's played Mr. Nice Guy time and time again. Does he get a little more aggressive? Does he get a little more mean? Does he get a little more passive? A little more down? Like, those are things to pay attention to when you look at the 99. Another one, of course, Shane Van Gisbergen. This is where the name was born. You know, Shane Van Gisberger, Shane Van Gissenberger. Like, this was the origin of SVG. Was the Chicago Street Course Race back 2 years ago when he hopped in the Project 91 car for Trackhouse and went and won the whole gosh dang thing. Led him to a full Cup ride as we currently stand, Xfinity ride last year, and now lo and behold, he's competing for Sunoco Rookie of the Year against Riley Herbst. And spoiler, he's probably going to win. Just a guess. But this is where the legend of Shane Van Gisbergen started. You have to pay attention to him. And you might say, well, what's his average on the track? Well, he won it the first year and he got dead last year. It was an accident. Chase Briscoe locked things down, lost control of the car in rainy and bad conditions, ended up spinning behind the 16 that he was driving then. Van Gisbergen was for Kaulig, bumped into that windy Chevrolet, sent him into the barrier. It was enough damage to end his day. So he's placed first and he's placed 40th. In these 2 contests, and it's not crazy to think that he's going to end up somewhere in between, but honestly, he's going to be a heavy favorite. Another first place is not entirely out of the situation. And here's my question for those of you who may stumble upon this video. If Shane Van Gisbergen gets 2 wins at Mexico City and then wins the Chicago Street Course Race, does that justify his inclusion in the modern day postseason system? Because 1 win, we had the conversation with Harrison Burton last year. We could have it again with Van Gisbergen this year. But if he gets 2, is that justified enough? Especially as the road course count continues to go up on these cars. So pay attention to him. Also names like Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, AJ Allmendinger all had accidents last year. All of them with DNFs. I don't expect that to be a repeat performance. Keep an eye on them for redemption. But really what we're getting to is the guys on the bubble side of things. For those on the bubble, Tyler Reddick, he's a plus 128, currently sitting at 13th. Graphic here from NASCAR and their social media page. Tyler Reddick with a plus 128. He's in a great spot coming to this one. 4th last week in Atlanta. He was the runner-up in this race a year ago, so he has some momentum on his side, and he has familiarity and success proven at this racetrack. I wouldn't be surprised if that 128-point cushion bumps up a little bit here after it's all said and done on Sunday. 14th, Chris Buescher. Chris is a wild card here. He's a plus 52 right now in the standings in that 14th spot. The first year NASCAR did this race, very first year, he placed within the top 10. I think he got 7th. The very next year, he was about 20th, middle of the pack type of car. So what we are going to get from Buescher, probably dependent on track conditions and everything along those lines. But he's a wild card here, somebody who is going to want desperately a good result on Sunday, may or may not get it. To be determined. 15th, Alex Bowman, plus 39. Mr. Bowman has been on a hot streak after hitting a very, very cold streak. He's starting to round back into form, and it's coming at the exact right time for someone like Alex. What is he doing right now that's been so successful for him? Well, of course, he finished 2nd last week at Atlanta. That helps you out quite a bit in scenarios like this. And the last year, he won the race, as I mentioned in the top 10. He was victorious. So he has a ton of confidence. That's multiple guys on the bubble who have at least got top 10s or top 5s here. Buescher has a top 10. Reddick has a top 5. Alex Bowman has a victory. These guys on the cusp, they got to feel pretty good at a place like this for as unorthodox as it is. So barring an accident like what happened to Alex Bowman the very first year we raced here, I expect him to also create some separation from 16th and on down. 16th, speaking of that, this is the coveted spot. Everybody behind 16th desperately wants it. The guy sitting in 16th, Bubba Wallace, who's plus 23 in the points, he doesn't want to be there. He wants to move up. He wants to get away from that because if a new winner takes home a checkered flag, all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, you're on the outside looking in. It's a dangerous spot. You don't want to play those types of games. Bubba's going to do all he can to make sure he does not. He placed 12th at the last road course race in Mexico City, which was a good enough finish, but since then we've seen finishes of 36th and 22nd for Bubba. Brake rotor issues at Pocono, obviously multiple incidents in Atlanta where he was still able to bring that thing home 22nd, but it has not been a good stretch. How will he do in Chicago is going to be crucial to his standings come Monday. Not only, obviously, points-wise, but in the long run, too. Cars are starting to take advantage. Momentum's starting to become a real thing. This is the wrong time to get cold, and Bubba's trying to avoid that. If he can keep it around that average, he got 13th here last year, got 12th at Mexico City. You hang around there, it's going to be far and away from a bad day for Bubba. Let's go below the cut line. Ryan Preece, minus 23 points right now in that 60. I talked about how this car, same paint scheme, ended up 4th last year, different driver, and Joey Hand. Can Preece bum off that success as well in that setup that they utilized last year to perfection? I think Preece has shown us a lot of things this year. He's about as consistent as they come. He's been a top 15 machine when it just comes to pure consistency, but he knows he needs a little bit more to get that extra oomph over the top to ultimately punch his ticket into the playoffs. A win is what the 60's after, point blank. You don't want to mess around. You don't want to leave it up to chance. And it's going to be unique because his last 2 races here, both in the 41 for Stewart Haas Racing. We know that wasn't the best of equipment at the time, especially the 41 car. If other cars were getting it bad, the 41 was getting it worse. He had his hands full and stuff like that, but he still has finishes of 15th in year 1 and then 34th last year. He was on the lead lap. Still 34th regardless for Preece. So here's to hoping better equipment leads to better results for Ryan. 18th, Eric Jones. He's a minus 49 at this point in time in the cutoff. Someone like Eric, he's optimistic about the direction of Legacy Motor Club right now, as he should be. And the 43 has had a little bit of a rhythm as of late. You could say that. Jones finished 16th here on the very first try. Last year he finished 29th. Legacy Motor Club is much better than what they were last year. Same situation as with Preece. Will better equipment yield better results for Eric Jones? We certainly hope that's the case. for that Jones boy. Carson Hocevar is your last one at 20th. He's 62 points out. He overcame some drama last week to finish 10th, which is all well and good for Carson. He is the only driver in this whole bubble scenario that has less than 2 starts here at Chicago. He only has the one. Last year he finished 24th. So he needs to hope that his second start here on the street course ends up a little bit better than that 24th spot for Carson Hocevar. That's a look at your guys on the bubble headed into this race. Lastly, if you're looking for some fresh new paint schemes, some fresh new looks, keep an eye out for some of these newer sponsors, some of these rare sponsors, some of these schemes we don't get to see a ton. You'll have things like the Grillo's pickle machine with a new touch. It's now hot pickle spears. You'll also have Christopher Bell. We've seen Craftsman before, but it's their Racing for a Miracle paint scheme. Stuff like that will be unique, but if you want something that's a little more unique, look no further than situations like Noah Gragson. He's going to be in the Rasmussen air and gas machine. This is a part of Chicago's pneumatic that has been a partner of Front Row Motorsports for a long time. This is just a section of that will be on the number 4. I have to remind myself all the time that that's a Front Row Motorsports car. Brad Keselowski in partnership with Kroger. He's going to have Blue Buffalo on the vehicle, and yes, there are dogs on it, which is perfect. That's exactly what we need. Kyle Busch, 7-Eleven's back, but this time instead of it being the 7-Eleven car on the 8, it's they're promoting their Slurpee slushy drink brand, whatever. Slurpee is on the car for Kyle Busch, and it's been a long time since I've had one. If this car does well, I may have to go and get another. William Byron and Hendrick Motorsports, they're going to be rocking all pro auto reconditioning on that Fame number 24 that you can keep an eye out. And lastly, Michael McDowell will have DePaul University on the 71 Spire machine, and he's going to have to be careful. I know he finished 5th here last year, but DePaul hasn't made an NCAA tournament since 2003, and that's when they were in Conference USA. Obviously now in the Big East, DePaul has not had a winning season since 2018. Been a long time there for them. So got to be careful when you're rocking the Blue Demons on that vehicle for Michael McDowell. But I love seeing these university sponsorships get involved. It always gives you fantastic cars for video games or modifications or whatever down the line. I'm a big fan of it. That's going to be it for the entry list. That's all we got. 4 unique cars, couple unique schemes. Here's who did well last year in this situation and the guys you got to watch going into it. I will catch you for the race recap afterwards. Typically get the video out the day after. Obviously, this is a new YouTube channel. Just having fun with it, man. If you like it, hit like, subscribe if you want. If you don't like it, sorry. I'll give it a better go next time, and we'll make things a little bit better. Till then, have a good rest of your week. We will catch you right after race day, after the Grant Park 165 at Chicago's Street Race course.